Schoharie. Thank you. My name is Robert Need, N-I-E-D. I'm an affected landowner. Schoharie County continues to struggle with the devastating effects of flooding following Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee 1 year ago. This county has suffered what may be permanent emotional, cultural, and economic damage from that tragedy. A natural gas pipeline disrupting the same valleys, towns, and villages that were scoured by the floodwaters and which remain preoccupied with recovery is unconscionable. No study of the impacts of this proposed pipeline would be even marginally complete without a comprehensive analysis of the economic, environmental, cultural impacts on a region still in the midst of disaster recovery and vulnerable to similar disasters in the future. Despite assertions to the contrary by Williams representatives at both Schoharie County open houses, the Constitution Pipeline represents infrastructure that would encourage and support natural gas extraction using the technology of high-volume horizontal hydrofracking. Despite baseless claims by Williams that the capacity of the Constitution Pipeline could not be increased, it could indeed be increased to accept frack gas extracted in Schoharie County. No study of the impacts of this pipeline would be even marginally complete without a comprehensive analysis of the environmental impacts of hydrofracking induced and facilitated by this proposed pipeline. More than 11% of the population of Schoharie County lives below the poverty level, yet many residents are homeowners struggling to hold on to those homes. A natural gas pipeline through their backyards will likely decrease the value of their homes, while the cost to maintain them remains fixed or rises. Several major insurance carriers have stated they will cancel homeowner policy coverage for those with natural gas pipelines through the property. No study of the impacts of this pipeline would even be marginally complete without a comprehensive analysis of the impacts on property values and insurability of homes in an area with both long-standing and acute economic problems. In 1990, a pipeline exploded in Schoharie County, destroying homes and killing 2 beloved members of our community. We are not comforted by dismissive assurances of pipeline safety, especially knowing Williams' safety record, which includes a pipeline explosion in Virginia in 2008 that destroyed homes and scorched the earth for more than 1,000 feet from pipeline. Proposing another pipeline in a county scarred by its own pipeline tragedy is arrogant, insensitive, and inexcusable. No study of this pipeline would be even marginally complete without a comprehensive analysis of the economic, environmental, and cultural impacts of another pipeline-related accident, including the county's ability to mount an emergency response to such an accident with limited capacity and resources. Finally, the population of Schoharie County is aging. Many residents are seniors, yet conversations with many of those seniors reveals a level of anger and frustration that is not normally associated with that demographic. Many of those seniors are angry at the prospect that this pipeline will negatively impact their lifelong homes or the homes in which they had hoped to live out their lives. They are frankly prepared to fight. Recent newspaper interviews have told of elderly residents expressing a willingness to sit down in front of bulldozers. The print, electronic, and social media will love the images of seniors chained to construction equipment or being led away, hands tied wrapped behind their backs. Is that what Williams wants? Is that what FERC wants? There are many prepared to resist, to sit down in front of bulldozers. I am 61 years old. I am one of those people.
All right.
Yeah!
No study of the impacts of this pipeline would even be marginally complete without a careful analysis of the turmoil and angst this community will feel if this unnecessary, ill-timed, and invasive pipeline is approved. As a father, as a husband, as a citizen, I give you my word, I will not step aside. Thank you. Murphy. Mike Murphy. Gilbert Hoglia.
My name is Gilbert Tolia. I'm a homeowner in Richmondville. Schoharie County has long been known as the breadbasket of the American Revolution. More than 200 years after that revolution, agriculture is still a major part of the economy in this county, despite flooding which has devastated the region, especially last year, but many times before. Once the pipeline is in place, there's very little doubt that growth of heavy industry and fracking would not be far behind, leading to more infrastructure construction to support that growth. What becomes of that breadbasket of the revolution? At a time when agricultural lands are disappearing at an alarming rate, we cannot afford to lose such an important resource. Almost daily, we see ads on TV inviting the viewers to come see picture-perfect Schoharie County. That slogan will be meaningless once this pipeline promotes industrial growth and fracking becomes a reality. Who wants to live next to a gas pipeline? Who wants to vacation next to one? With the booming growth of techno industries in the Albany area, there's bound to be a significant growth in population for the county as employees of these firms head to the suburbs to live. This type of growth is far better for an area such as Schoharie County than pipelines, compressor stations, and the like. Schoharie County now hosts at least 2 other major pipelines. Why a third one? When safety of the pipeline was discussed in reference to warning alarms, we were told, call us if you smell gas. Thank you.
To save as much time as possible, I'm going to call 3 names at once, so three folks will come down at once. Francois Verdier, Wayne Stinson, Chris Drake. We'll start with Francois Verdier.
Thank you for letting me address the board. My name is Francois Verdier. I am a impacted landowner. I'm also a practicing engineer. And it is my opinion that Williams has shown a complete disregard for the environment in proposing their the first one I want to make is that the pipeline capacity and the compression station. William Cabot claims necessity for the Constitution pipeline based on the statement by Williams that it has contracts in hand for the delivery of natural gas to New York City and Boston for the full capacity of the Constitution pipeline. William Cabot also claimed that the Constitution pipeline is an open access pipeline which will allow the local distributors to connect to the pipeline to deliver natural gas to local communities along the pipeline, and that it has already been contacted by interested distributors. These above statements by Williams are contradictory at best. If the full capacity of the proposed Constitution pipeline has already been committed to markets in Boston and New York City, no surplus gas is available for local use along the pipeline, and the local communities along the pipeline will not gain access to natural gas via local distributors as claimed by Williams. In this case, Williams is being ambiguous at best in order to garner support of the communities along the pipeline route. Alternatively, capacity of the pipeline can be increased to accommodate demands along the pipeline by constructing additional compression stations along the proposed pipeline, none of which are shown on the proposed project. If this is the case, the environmental review of the project should include the full build-out, including all necessary compression stations needed to bring the pipeline to full capacity. Furthermore, the approximate location of the compression station should be revealed to the public and the affected landowner. My property is in the Cobblestone watershed. I focused on that, but these comments show the carelessness of Williams in preparing the proposed route. The Cobblestone Reservoir are the water supply, the sole water supply for the village of Cobblestone, the Warnerville Water District, and the East Cobblestone Water District. The proposed preferred route crosses 2.5 miles through the watershed. The village of Cobblestone is the largest urban community in Schoharie County with a population of 4,678 people, according to the 2010 census. The village of Cobblestone and the two water district form the vital commercial hub for Schoharie County that is home to many institutions, businesses that would have to close doors if the village water supply source was compromised as a result of locating the pipeline through the watershed. These include the Cobblestone Hospital, City Cobblestone, the Cobblestone Hut, Richmondville, Central School, Middle School, and High Schools. Businesses include Fedamore Asset Management, Sterling Insurance, Walmart, Price Chopper, Best Western, Super 8, Amon Engineer, County Farms and Garden, all of which provide hundreds of jobs for people in Schoharie County. All of these would have to be closed if there was an accident within the watershed of the village of Cobblestone. Furthermore, the impoundment structures for the reservoirs are Class C high hazard dams because of the inundation impact that the failure of the dams would have on the hamlet of Mineral Springs, located immediately downstream of the reservoir. A breach analysis of the dams performed during the preparation of the emergency action plan for the reservoir show that waters from a dam breach would reach the first houses in less than 2 minutes. Based on the layout of the preferred routing, this 30-inch, 1440 PSI proposed gas main is located within the 786 feet potential impact radius from the reservoir. Any failure of the gas main in that area would likely compromise the structural integrity of the dam and would likely result in the loss of life. The final comment that I would make is that the soils within the watershed are highly erodible January silt loam and with shallow bed rock on steep slope, and a water table between 4 and 30 inches in the flatter area of the watershed. Based on the information provided by Constitution, the pipe would be 36 inches below ground, which means that it would be within the water table. Any leak or explosion would seriously impact and probably completely compromise the water supply for the village of Cobblestone. It is unconscionable that Williams would even consider such routing.
All right, I'm Wayne Stinson, I live in the town of Summit. Most of my written letter here has been covered by Kevin Neary, Dean Malone, Bob Mead, Don Neary, and Mr. Pisano. I'd like to add that I think that before we rubber stamp this project, that we should study how we would supply clean water in the case of water contamination, which is highly probable if hydrocracking comes into the area? How would we supply clean water for drinking, for our livestock, for our crops, to any of the affected areas? We should also study how we're going to compensate people for the loss of their property value. The more you think about it, the more it needs to be studied. What Williams Cabinet's Constitution Pipeline is asking the federal government to do is to say it's all right for a large for-profit corporation to take and use, devalue our land and our property, and not even compensate us for it.
That's right. Poisonous.
And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, folks, for allowing everybody to be here and speak. This can't be easy for you. I can assure you it's not easy for most people in the room. I first became aware of gas exploration in this area a few years ago. Frighteningly, watching a Planet Green episode. After an hour, it's summed up by a satellite photo of the world coming down to the United States, New York, the southern tier, and then a town right next to where we lived. And this, the target of the world. I became aware of this project less than 2 weeks ago, sitting at dinner, the evening before you spoke with me. I turned to my wife, I said, "You're not going to believe this." For 2 years, we looked for a home and did settle to be within an area that we knew was somewhat of a target. But this was posed for 200 feet behind our home. And I started to research. But nothing, no amount of time, especially 2 weeks, allows you to get into the depth necessary. And I question how you can possibly, even over the course of a year, address every comment, every personal feeling, socioeconomical, environmental, civil. I would first ask that FERC allow for an additional meeting. The people in Oneonta, very close to me, everyone I've talked to, adjacent landowners, that's a few people directly next to me, they're unaware of this. Whether they didn't receive the information, whether the information wasn't sent, I'm sure it was sent, but mine was plain envelope. Something like this, in my opinion, should be sent to people certified return receipt. So they're assured that they're aware of such a monumental project. This isn't a small thing. That's a small consideration. I reside with my family and wife 1,500 feet west of mile marker 72, town of Oneonta, proposed Constitution Pipeline project. With my family of four and many pets on 65 acres at the base of Franklin Mountain. Our property is 800 feet wide by a mile deep. 75% of our property incorporates what you would expect of a mountain, an off-camber grade of 35% or greater. The other 25% incorporates our home, the only rolling terrain, the only traversable terrain. This pipeline is proposed to go directly through the middle of this. Our property includes a ravine in the easterly border in this portion. This land has a history of flooding, as evidenced by Oneonta's flood event during the spring of 2011, the closed Route 28. This ravine is nearly 20 to 25 feet deep and 30 to 40 feet deep, or 30 to 40 feet wide, and would need to be crossed to make the proposed route possible. Further, the proposed study corridor is mapped by the information received from Constitution Pipeline is the only tillable and rolling terrain on our 65-acre property. It's home to our poultry, livestock, and gardens that support our business. We operate a wholesale organic food company and manufacture certified organic products that are distributed nationally. We also have financial commitments in place to open a retail organic bakery and cafe in Oneonta. We've only lived in our home for a year this past June. I haven't even had an opportunity to use this land. We've invested substantially in its purchase and infrastructure to support our business. We steadfastly oppose the construction of the Constitution Pipeline. The proposed Route M study corridor would squeeze between our home and Franklin Mountain and be 200 feet from our back door. Our concerns include the safety of the pipeline's operation, the maintenance of the proposed pipeline and surrounding area. From my calculations, and those gathered, I can only fear that our home and our family are within a direct impact and likely a radiation zone in the event of a catastrophe. I had a friend who won the $20 million lottery last year. I'm also concerned regarding the effects of soil and water contamination. The herbicides used to keep the 50-foot right-of-way accessible are just one of the negative direct impacts of our land. The contamination of our water and soil directly impacts the organic certification necessary to keep our livelihood and business worth going. We cannot at this time fully comprehend the environmental or financial impact that this proposal will have on our land, animals, family, and business. We, as many as others, are asking for a full environmental impact in addition to a required setback, at least 1,000, 2,000, whatever's required. At this time, I understand there's no setback requirements for pipeline installation. Secondly, the flooding on that mountain, as well as every other mountain along the 120-mile corridor, the possible effects of that flooding condition on this pipe, each I'm sure is specific, but each should be studied specifically and in full depth. There's so many issues. I was at last night's meeting and the second person spoke and I was stupefied. I was dumbfounded and I felt completely ignorant to what was going on. In this case, you know, I'm one of someone who was informed less than 2 weeks ago. And I feel like I represent everybody who's either not been informed or just recently informed. Because I feel like I'm so ill prepared for this meeting or to properly absorb what's going on here. From an insurance standpoint, you know, I understand, you know, we've heard what's going on. These people should have to pay for our insurance. We shouldn't be in a position where we're going to lose our insurance. This is a for-profit operation. To think that we could possibly have our insurance canceled, we're going to have to make any adjustments whatsoever. I can't believe that they shouldn't be required to pay for our homeowners insurance and any changes that affect that policy based on this project and the infiltration, the discomfort we're feeling. On a compensation basis, this one is really crazy. An $8 million project proposes possibly $5 a foot to affected landowners, $26,000 a mile. A total expenditure of less than 0.5% to occupy our dreams, hopes, futures, retirements, our playgrounds for our children, forest, streams, and the list goes on. This essentially puts us in the business of natural gas supply. We don't want to be in this business. This isn't something we're asking for. We don't want it. But by doing that, the potential to receive a compensation less than what our taxes are on that parcel per year. That's what we can expect. no royalty. Additionally, we get the advantage of vicarious liability associated with that pipe. From the day of its installation, in perpetuity, when it's abandoned. A gentleman made a very good point last night about, these pipes can whatever the lifespan is, if it's 30 years, after that, a rusting pipe, it collects water, next thing you know, that's leaking down my ravine into the Susquehanna River. Where does that leave me? I'll probably be gone, but where does that leave my children or the next property owner? They should need to be responsible for this pipeline from the day of its installation. We should be excluded from any kind of vicarious liability whatsoever. We're not in the business. We don't know what to do with this thing in the event of a problem. Why are we going to be left with this thing 30 years later?
That's right.
I think it's the obligation of FERC. I understand that this is an environmental impact meeting, but this has to be taken under consideration. Upon abandonment, a catastrophe with this pipe could throw someone into bankruptcy. There's no way to deal with it from my standpoint. And what precludes them? Why should they be excused from that? If I lose my organic certification, I'm out of business. If this pipe fails 30 years from now on my property, there's nothing that precludes them. There's nothing that includes them in that process. We should not be responsible for this pipeline from the day of its installation until it's decommissioned, fully decommissioned, removed, and considered remediated from our properties. The stewardship that we're expected to provide for their pipeline, their for-profit pipeline, should exclude us from liability vicariously in any way. And we should be properly compensated if it happens. Land values, whole other story. Everybody's specific. I value my land differently. We happen to apply for National Historic Register. Does that mean anything when the pipeline comes through? No, that doesn't mean a thing. I beg the panel and anybody above you, obviously you're going to write a report of this visit to our part of the world. I beg you to aggressively seek an alternative to this entire process. If the Iroquois, the Tennessee, or if any other pipeline is decayed to the point it can't be used, that should be decommissioned, excavated, and if that land is suitable to be reused, it should be reused. We're in the organic business. A lot of people are around here. It's an aggressive industry. It's a growth industry. It's one of the few industries that even grew through this recessionary period, other than the natural gas industry. But people in this part of the world care about that. We care about sustainable living. We grow our own food. We raise our own livestock. We value our land. We seek ways to heat our homes with something other than natural gas, myself included. I burn wood. That's a tough project to split 8-10 cords of wood a year. But I enjoy it, and I want to keep doing it. I respect the gentleman who quoted Schoharie County's picture-perfect slogan. Only honest slogan is life enjoyed. And we don't want to see it life destroyed. Thank you.
Yeah!
Jim Bright, Ted Werner.